Hey, Saints fans, welcome back. Today, we're going to take a look at Chase Young based on your request. Now, look, I actually didn't expect to be doing as many film studies and podcasts this year, but overwhelming amount of support from y'all. I think we've had like 7,000 or 8,000 people just in the last 2-3 days to watch the podcast and the 2 film studies. So big thank you to that. All I can really ask is you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you do enjoy everything, maybe check out supporting us monthly on our website, revenues.com, because the more y'all support, the more I can do. And doing 3 film studies a week, honestly, has been a lot of fun, but it is very time consuming. This is after I'm done with this film study, probably been my like 25th, 30th hour this week doing this work, but it's awesome. And we're going to take a look at Chase today. Hope you enjoy it. I think you will. And yeah, we'll go over the good, go over the bad, and everything in between. Roll that beautiful bean footage. All right, Saints fans, so I'm going to start off with a very early play here for Chase Young. Today, we're going to take a look at some good, some bad, some very impressive. And this, I think, is going to be part of that latter category where I really wanted to focus on his get-off and how much has improved from last season. Now, we actually have an analytic to show this, but it's good to see the visual aspect of that as well. Now, for those looking where your new favorite Saints defensive end is, he is at the top of your screen. You'll notice that he has a very unique stance. He has a very wide form, and honestly, if it works for him, more power to him. Or we'll talk about maybe things that I personally have against his stance, but if it starts connecting into sacks, I'm not going to gripe too much about it. But let's go ahead and roll and talk about this one where we're going to really show what I think is just absolutely amazing get off. And obviously you're going to see him be the fastest off the line here for the team. So in terms of who's on the field, obviously you got Carl Granderson down here at the bottom, and we've got Cameron Jordan on the inside. For those curious, we saw Chase Young 37 snaps of this game. So he did not play the full game. He was not the full-time starter. You saw rotations of guys like Peyton Turner getting in, Carl Granderson, Cameron Jordan, Brian Brzee obviously on the inside, Nate Shepard, and they move things around. This is all with them missing who's probably their best interior run defender in Kalen Saunders. So first off, you see the get off here, and I think that's impressive enough. And then it's how does he attack with the get off? So in this case, we're trying to run the arc, and it's a little bit of a push-pull technique. You'll see it here in a second from the opposite angle. Doesn't necessarily get a pressure here, but it's a nice little run here that I think is, well, impressive just from the standpoint of operating from a wide 9, seeing that explosive ability, that quickness, and that's something that we've talked about the Saints defense missing. So you see right there, trying to go for that push-pull, does not get a clean one here. Through here, right, great hand contact, love that. Would like to see him a little bit lower in terms of his leverage there. Extend, you see he's got the lock, but now he's got to rip it down. Doesn't get a clean rip down, and the tackle does a great job to attack that outside shoulder and recover and move him up the arc. He does still get contact on the quarterback, but the main thing you're seeing there is great explosion, great get off, and again, that's an improvement from last year. Big risk going after him with the neck surgery, but nice rep. Now, y'all know how we do it. We don't do highlight film, so we just looked at a great play, yes, but we also have to look at all the plays, and that includes some negatives. And this one, though, it's okay. You're going to see a negative here. We'll talk about what he could have done better, but it's made up for the fact that Demario Davis is still amazing at 47 years old. That guy is still really good, surprisingly. So what happens here? This is a run play. We're going to have him inside. In terms of our alignment here, very similar to what you actually saw the mythical Panthers or mythical because they're so astonishingly bad. But you saw the zero technique here. And then whether somebody lines up as a 5, 7, whatever, doesn't really matter. It's how they perform versus their opponent. As you see him come off the ball, gets right up there. He does not have the leverage needed, and he's getting driven back. Demario, though, does a fantastic job to swoop underneath and make up for it. So you see Chase Young get driven off the point. One thing you will notice with early on, maybe this changes as the season progresses, but they are not giving him in-man on the line of scrimmage responsibility, or EMOLOS. It's an acronym, obviously. So you're actually wanting him to attack down and actually penetrate, but he gets driven off the ball here. Would like to see him confront this tackle with a little bit more power and manage to separate. And if it comes down to a double team, maybe use something like the drop leg technique and not end up giving up yards. He gives about 3 good yards here, but it's a fantastic job by Demario Davis to split that that B gap, come through and force the play to go down for essentially a nothing burger, even though Chase got moved off. Little things that we need to see him improve on, that play strength. See that functional play strength translate in the run game. All right, so this could be one of those plays where I talk about I have a slight issue with some of the things that he does, but at the same time, you see good from him. And what I mean by that is look at his actual launch point. Now, there's something called false stepping, and it's debated, honestly, and I'm saying that openly, it's debated on whether it matters or not. I've seen, especially when it comes to skill positions and wide receiver coaches, not really care. I was always taught that it matters, so I tend to lean in that camp. But I do want to be honest with y'all that, hey, it's not the end-all be-all advice you're getting here, but this is what I was taught. But a false step is where you take basically like this quarter second to a half second of lost time in theory because you're not immediately launching off the ball. You're taking a little like gather step to launch. And you'll notice it right here. Watch when the ball snaps, you're going to see it, bam. See how he picked his foot up and put it back down? That's called a false step. And in theory, from a football perspective, it can lose you, a quarter second, half second. And we know that tenths of a second matter in the game. So we've already talked about it. It gave him praise that he's an explosive get-off. You look how fast he just jumps off the ball. It's very, very nice to see. But you can even see across the screen Carl Granderson launching off that plant foot, not resetting, whereas Chase Young right above here is going to have, you're going to see that front foot reset and then launch. Again, maybe that's fine for him, and maybe they don't coach that. I know it's been coached before in terms of with this team about false stepping. It's something that they talked about Marcus Davenport having a serious issue with. I talked about it being an issue with Marcus Davenport back when he was here. And maybe that gets fixed up. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they are more concerned about how effective his hand usage is. Like, for example, I love him attacking this outside hand. Great job there. Just isn't able to get away. Isn't able to fully lock out. Still forces the quarterback out of the pocket. And then you get a throwaway. So it's a win. Obviously a win. Definitely not meant to be like, oh, Chase Young is terrible. Just a, hey, I think you'd be a little bit better if this got cleaned up a little bit. But this is a young player. And that's one thing I think a lot of people forget about Chase Young. Yes, he is a veteran at this point. He's been in the league a few years, but he's not exactly a 30-year-old vet trying to like rekindle. This is a young guy in his prime trying to explode off a one-year deal and secure the bag. So very curious to see if these things improve as the season goes on and he becomes a even more effective playmaker. All right, another play here. And I think what you see a lot in this game is he's the king of the almost sack. I think that's okay in week one. You're still getting it all together. You're still perfecting everything. Love his inside track there. It ends up getting pushed off course. He does force the quarterback out the pocket and an errant throw. My only rebuttal would be a better quarterback may make this throw, but then you're talking about being a coverage thing. Also, the Ryan tree lives, Brian Brzee dropping back into coverage. The positives, though, are far outweighing the negative. Great job splitting with that inside track there. I just want to see him finish. And if you look at it from the opposite angle, again, great play. No issue with it in terms of the actual get off. No terms with it in terms of actually getting inside. Really, really like that. I do have, obviously, I'm more about false steps. But great job here. But now it's got to finish. The guards end up able to get him out of balance, so he ended up loses it. But overall, that's a 90% great rep. He just has to finish it. And I think that as players progress and get better as the season goes on and you open up plays for them, this is the type of thing that you can see Chase Young start connecting on. It's 90% there. And I think in week one, it's okay to be 90% there. Great job. You saw, by the way, this is also a great evidence of a pass rush plan. Remember, he's been pushing the arc through multiple plays that we've seen, really driving wide and going high from a wide 9. Now, if you look at how he actually formatted this rush, love it, because he's going to show that upfield burst before breaking in. So watch his footwork here. Come on, snap right now. Let's go, snap. All right, see a false step, but you see how he did 2 steps forward to drive upfield. The whole point of that is we want to drive upfield and get that tackle to commit and then have the ability to break inside, which this is where you see very, very good athleticism from Chase Young. Breaks inside. Just want to see that finish up, that cleaned up, but very good rep. All right, another one here. I'm going to kind of halfway chuckle with this when they're being a double standard because hands to the face is almost only ever called on defensive linemen, and it's considered like a reactionary thing with the offensive line here. But again, running the arc, doing a great job right above. I love the hand usage here. This is essentially a forklift technique where you want to attack that inside forearm, or in this case, the outside forearm. You want to attack the forearm. So what you want to essentially do is as they're launching at you, you want to take your hand, you want to grab it and then throw it up. That's going to help put them off balance. It's going to raise their center of gravity. It's obviously going to keep their hands off of you. And just look, where's the center of gravity here? Obviously, he's in a significantly better position. Now, the offensive lineman adjusts by taking that face mask right off of his face, which, again, I think that should be a penalty, but whatever. great job in terms of the rush. Does a good job running the arc there. And had it not been for his face mask getting ripped off, he might have gotten to the quarterback. Also want to note on the opposite side of the field, it's a good rush by Carl Granderson. Both of these guys got really close. Just need to see that become a finish thing. Now, if 8 weeks into the season, we're still talking about the almost sack, I have an issue, but it's a great spin move by Granderson, who's got to maintain his footing. He ends up falling here. If he doesn't fall, I think he's got a sack. But look at Granderson's technique. Great job on the spin. You want to attack that outside hand first. Look at that paw swiping. Bam. Now spin into that. Now he just has to maintain and ends up getting tripped up there from the shoulder. And again, like, am I going to gripe too much about it? No, but I want to see these converted into sacks. Still, you force a very short completion. You'll take that. But it's just right there from both of these guys. Want to see that get finished up, get cleaned up. Handy note for anybody watching this that happens to be a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator in the NFL, in this case an OC, don't block Chase Young with that poor little man. That wasn't nice to him. That hurt his feelings. He's got a family. Obviously, he has zero family now. His whole family's abandoned him because that play was allowed to happen and transpire. But as amazing as this play is, you do want to see this be a continual thing. And there's no negative to add here. He takes on his blocker, blows him the heck up, and then forces a tackle. That's fantastic job. Chase, you did it, and you walk off. You be big bad man. You a big bad man. You scary. If you punch me in the chest like that, I would struggle to breathe. So I feel for our inside player right there, but that's just a great job. If I have to critique it, I guess blow him up more to the inside so you take out the running back as well. But, come on. It's a great job. And I will talk about the alignments here. One thing I do want you to note is he's lining up here outside the tackle, not in a wide 9, but in a 7 tech, so wide 9 be really far out there. But if you notice, they're running a lot of scrape exchange with Chase Young, and I'm curious to see, these are things I want to watch for as the season progresses. Do they give him responsibilities as the end man? Here, they're telling him to crash inside, giving that responsibility to Demario Davis to maintain that outside control, outside contain. You see Davis switches over there right there in the map. There's the inside, and now Davis's gap is what typically would be your ends gap. They've swapped the role, so that's the exchange part of things as he goes inside. And if this works, awesome. And you see Demario helps clean it up as well as the interior. Great play. Love it. Want to see more of that. Also, this is what you need for Chase Young to be a 3-down DN. All right, another one here. This one, he is lining up wide, and again, I'm loving how they're using him. Great job inside by both Carl Granderson and the really impressive Chase Young in this one game. Again, you're seeing the same idea, by the way, where he is being told to attack inside. That is his responsibility. They want him to take the inside track there. So he splits it immediately. This means that Pete Warner's got responsibility for this outside. And then just a great job to get in there and force his play to become what is essentially a TFL. I think he ends up getting a no gain on this one, but a great job by Chase to break inside. And doing it from a wide position is ever more impressive as that's more ground to cover. Simple little stutter there to break inside. Whereas Carl Granderson is an unblocked backside defender. Both of them get very nice penetration inside and cause that to go nowhere. And again, the same thing I talked about with this defensive side as the offensive side, well coached. Loving to see that, need to see more. So I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Obviously not going into crazy amounts of depth, showing y'all some of the basics, some of the techniques he's lined up in, and then also some of the functions and roles they're giving him. And for one game, like what I saw. The main things I would say are little things to clean up. Just want to see him do just enough to start connecting on some of those big plays. But, again, you're one game into the season for a guy who's new on the team, and you hope to continue to see growth. For first game, sure, he didn't light up these sack numbers, but he clearly performed well, provided a lot of pressures, and you saw even the advanced analytics sites giving him a lot of credit for pressuring Young. Now, pressures matter. Sacks are better, but both are very important. I do think he'll light up the stat sheet this year. Hopefully that's the case, and hopefully you see the entire defensive line continue to improve. You cannot go your entire year where DBs and linebackers are dominating your sack numbers, but you can definitely benefit from a lot of the pressures and benefit from the play. If you enjoyed the video, I ask you to do some simple things. Like it, subscribe already, share this out with other Whodats out there, and hope you have an amazing day. Thank you for watching the content, and I'll catch you on the next video and the podcast following the game.